Chapter 2. Krishnadas Babaji and Asim kindly brought me to their ashram to recuperate. The whole first day I rested. The next day, early in the morning, Asim asked if I would like to meet his guru. I eagerly consented. In a courtyard of tulsi trees, I first saw the man. A stately figure in his 70s, sitting on a wooden chair, eyes closed, chanting on prayer beads. This was Swami Ban Maharaj. Clean-shaven and with short white hair, he wore a simple t-shirt and the saffron lower cloth of a sannyasi. When he heard us approach, he slowly opened his eyes. "Please come," he said, gesturing for us to sit on the ground near him. Smiling, he asked my name. "Ah, yes, Richard, I am happy to welcome you as our guest. It is no accident that you have come to Vrindavan. Do you know what is Vrindavan?" His warm manner was compelling. "I will be most grateful if you explain," I said. He placed his prayer beads on a nearby table, raised his forefinger, and spoke in flawless English. "Beyond our temporary material existence is the spiritual sky, or Brahman. This is the destination sought by those who worship God as impersonal. Within the spiritual sky, there are spiritual planets where the one Supreme Lord resides in his various forms. Vrindavan is the highest realm of the spiritual world." He began to recite ancient Sanskrit verses to verify his words. The rhythm of his words entranced me. 5,000 years ago, he said, the Supreme Lord Krishna descended into our world and manifested his own abode, Vrindavan. Those with pure bhakti or devotion can still see Krishna performing his pastimes here. He paused, looked deeply into my eyes, and said again, "It is not by chance that you have come here, Richard. We welcome you back home to Vrindavan and to our ashram." Faithful disciples began to file through the quaint wooden entrance gate, offering their love. A middle-aged woman approached Ban Maharaj and handed him a golden flower. He turned back to me. "You may stay with us as long as you like, Richard. You will be my special guest." He nodded in the direction of the temple where Krishnadas Babaji was pacing back and forth, chanting on beads. "You see Krishnadas Babaji over there?" he said. I nodded. "You stand to gain great spiritual benefit if you spend your mornings with him. He is a Paramhamsa, a perfected soul, who is absorbed in kirtan, the chanting of God's names, day and night." The Swami's eyes filled with tears as he praised the elderly Babaji. "His devotion," he continued, "is an inspiration to all of us. Stay with him in the mornings, and you will learn the essence of Bhakti Yoga. In the afternoons, feel free to roam through the forests of Vrindavan and experience the divine atmosphere." He told me that there would be no pressure on me. He said that for residents of the ashram, there were strict rules, but added, "You are my special guest and may come and go as you please. Please be comfortable and happy." Between his fingertips, Ban Maharaj twirled the flower. "Each morning," he said, "I sit here in this courtyard. You are always welcome to come and talk with me." I bowed in gratitude. "Thank you." In my sickly condition, I felt his generosity to be a life-saving gesture. Asim, too, smiled at the kindness I was receiving. Education was an important mission for Ban Maharaj, who established a college in Vrindavan. He himself was highly educated and distinguished in character, the pride of an orthodox Brahmin family from East Bengal. Asim explained that when he was only 20 years old, Swami Ban Maharaj met his guru, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati. Upon hearing his powerful message and seeing his spotless character, Ban Maharaj offered his life to the path of devotional service. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati boldly declared that no one should be categorized on the basis of race, nationality, or caste, that we are all eternal souls, not the temporary body. He taught that people must be respected according to their personal qualities, not their birth. Boldly exposing the modern perversion of the caste system, he faced plots to end his life. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati emphasized the spirit of genuine devotion, or bhakti, and dismissed mundane superficialities and pseudo-spirituality. At the young age of 23, Ban Maharaj took the vows of a sannyasi, lifelong celibacy, and began to preach throughout India. He was among the first of Bhakti Siddhanta's disciples to be sent to England and Germany in the 1920s. Each morning as the sun was rising, Asim and I met in the courtyard to speak with Swami Ban Maharaj. Afterward, when Asim left for the college to assist his guru, I hurried to the temple. There from 8 o'clock until noon, Krishnadas Babaji sat every day alone on the floor, absorbed in singing devotional songs. I sat by his side. His eyes radiated with spiritual emotion, and he often struggled to restrain tears. While chanting, he played a two-headed clay drum called mridanga. Although his voice was simple, it was saturated with a devotional power that penetrated my heart. Every morning at 4:30, Babaji was given the honor of leading the assembly of monks in prayer. As prayer grew to kirtan, or congregational chanting, everyone danced in joyous abandon. While beating his drum, Babaji, who was small, thin, and old, would dance out from the temple of Krishna and into the courtyard as the rest of the devotees trailed behind him. Entering into a small temple of Shiva, he sang loudly as 20 monks leapt high, bells clanging. Then, leading the procession around the Tulsi garden and back into the temple, Babaji performed a grand finale that electrified the normally grave monks, who went wild with bliss. This was how every day began in the ashram. At 70 years old, Krishnadas Babaji was like an inexhaustible volcano erupting with devotion each time he sang the glories of the Lord. Babaji seemed never to stop chanting. Once when I had dysentery, I raced out to the latrine in the middle of the night and heard his strong, simple voice chanting the Maha Mantra from inside his room. Did he ever stop chanting God's names? Any time I awoke at night, I would quietly wander to the window of his room. In the seclusion of his personal love, he chanted Krishna's name day and night. No one in the ashram could determine when he slept. Except for his outburst, "Hare Krishna," in the hospital, Babaji never spoke a word to me, and I assumed he spoke no English. One morning, I rose late and took my bath at the well. With a rope, I lowered the bucket down, filled it with water, and hauled it up. Crouching down on a rock near the well, I scooped the water from the bucket with a brass vessel and poured it over my body. Suddenly I heard a voice. "Where were you this morning?" I looked around to trace its source, but there was no one around except Krishnadas Babaji. I continued my bath. Again the words boomed out. "Where were you this morning?" I searched for the source, but again saw only Babaji. I looked at him quizzically. Maybe he knew who was speaking. Looking straight into my eyes, he said in English, "Why do you not answer my question?" "Babaji," I blurted out, "I didn't know you spoke English." He replied, "That does not answer my question." From that day on, although his most prominent words consisted of "Hare Krishna," he spoke to me in fluent English. This impressed me. In India in the early 1970s, most people who knew a word of English, even if they didn't know what it meant, were proud to show it off, especially to foreigners. But Babaji Maharaj, who spoke fluent English, never spoke a word of it until it was required to help someone. Not a trace of arrogance could be detected in him. Perhaps this was the reason he was empowered to chant the holy names constantly. Previously, I had thought that silent meditation was the path of stalwart spiritualists, and that chanting and dancing was for sentimental people with no deep philosophical realization. Krishnadas Babaji shattered this misconception. I could not deny the power of his knowledge, detachment, and love. His path was bhakti yoga, devotional service to Krishna. Clearly, the method for awakening that love was his chanting of God's holy names. Babaji was loved all over Vrindavan. In many temples, whenever there was a special function, Babaji was invited to lead the kirtan, and sometimes he took me along. One day we entered a crowded temple where hundreds of people were chanting. Krishnadas Babaji chose to sit quietly in the rear, happy just to observe. As soon as somebody noticed him, the kirtan stopped, and the guru of that temple came forward and placed the mridanga drum around Babaji's neck, the entire congregation begging him to lead the chanting. With his first beat of the mridanga, the crowd melted in gratitude. When I witnessed this outpouring of love for Babaji, I understood the saying that it is only when one has no desire for adoration that one is truly qualified to receive it. On the day of Ekadasi, a fast day observed twice a month, Krishnadas Babaji would spend the entire night under a sacred tamarind tree, chanting Krishna's names from sunset to sunrise. Joining him, I was amazed. The old man showed no symptoms of fatigue. While I struggled to stay awake, for Babaji, this all-night fasting and meditation, I realized, was not a discipline, but simply the natural outpouring of his love for Krishna. As the sun was rising, Babaji exclaimed, 500 years ago, under this tree, Lord Chaitanya revealed his love to the world. Babaji, I asked, please tell me about Lord Chaitanya. His eyes beamed. Intoxicated by his all-night chanting, he explained, Lord Chaitanya is Krishna, the Supreme Lord, who descended 500 years ago to distribute love of God in the easiest possible way. Ages ago, his appearance was predicted in the scriptures. Although God himself, Lord Chaitanya assumed the role of a devotee just to teach us by his own example. Babaji's voice soared with enthusiasm. The personification of ecstatic love, he wept tears of compassion for all beings. In this age of quarrel and hypocrisy, he taught us, the essential medicine to cure our spiritual disease is the chanting of God's holy names. Lord Chaitanya taught that God has revealed many names through the ages and has invested his potency in all of them. Love of God is the inherent nature of the soul and is dormant within everyone. But we have forgotten. Chanting God's name reawakens that love from within the heart. Lifting his fist, Babaji boldly cried out, Lord Chaitanya rejected all sectarian boundaries and gave one and all equal opportunity to spiritual perfection. His words struck me as so simple and true. I longed to learn more. What is the best way to chant? I asked. His eyes glazed with emotion, and closing them, he sang a Sanskrit verse and explained. Lord Chaitanya taught us that one should strive to be more humble than a blade of grass, more tolerant than a tree, and to offer all respect to others while expecting none for oneself. In this way, one could chant the Lord's names constantly. He stroked the grass on the ground between us. You see this grass, he said? It is happy to serve everyone, even by remaining in the most humble position under our feet. Whenever it's stepped on, it comes right back up to serve. We can learn from this humility. He bowed his head toward the tree behind us. You see that tree? It tolerates the burning summer sun while giving us shade. It tolerates bitter cold while giving wood to keep us warm. And it may stay for months without a drop of water while giving us juicy fruits to quench our thirst. All of this without complaint. We should learn tolerance from the tree. Lord Chaitanya taught that we should aspire to be the humble servants of the servant of the servant of the Lord. Only in this way can we taste the nectar of the holy name. Then Babaji stood up and with a hearty laugh rubbed the top of my head and strolled away along the riverbank. I remained staring into the deep blue water of the Yamuna. Still wide from the monsoon rains, she flowed quietly through the forests and fields of Vrindavan. I thought, his words are like precious jewels. And because he so sincerely practices them in his life, they deeply penetrate my heart. At that moment, an upsurge of peace sprung from within me. I felt I was just where I needed to be.